Hello everyone, I am Innil Aziz. I hope you are fine and welcome to the translation course. So please, if you'd like more videos like that, don't forget to thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be informed by the coming videos. One of the first questions we ask before we learn translation is, what is translation? You may already have some experience in translation, or maybe you don't have any experience yet. But you have read translated works and there are some translation you like and some that you don't. Do you think the translator's understanding of what is translation affects their translation practice? When you decided to take this course or watch this video, what did translation mean to you? Translation in all times and in all countries have given many definitions of translation. They define different types of translation. For example, literary translation and non-fiction translation. They view translation from different perspectives. For example, from the perspective of linguistics or that of art. They understand the process of translation differently. For example, whether it involves language codes only or culture as well or artistic recreation. As a result, it is very difficult, if not at all impossible for us to sum up a definition of translation that apply in all circumstances. It is universally well acknowledged that language is the first and the most important tool for communication. Since translation is par excellence a process that puts two different languages at work, namely source language and target language, it is very important to take into account that language is socially and culturally determined and that translation takes place within a sociocultural context. Translation cannot be simply considered as a mere linguistic operation or a simple act of communication between source language readers and target language readers. It is a transfer from one culture to another, because we do not translate words in a vacuum, but we translate ideas, norms, signs from source culture to target culture. Words are symbols of social and cultural phenomena, and the text is embedded in a cultural context. Hatim and Mason say, texts may be therefore seen as a carriers of ideological meaning, a factor which makes them particularly vulnerable to changing sociocultural norms. Torrey also confirms this by considering translation as a kind of activity which inevitably involves at least two languages and two cultural traditions, at least two sets of norm systems on each level. Similarly, Holidays insist on the fact that context precedes text. Here we refer to context in its broader sense, that is culture. Culture is necessary for an adequate understanding of the text, because translating without understanding a text can be misleading, and translating a text without translating its culture is impossible, because translation is not simply a matter of seeking other words in target language with similar meaning, but rather the finding of appropriate ways of saying things in the other language. According to Mary Snell Hornby, the exclusion of the cultural aspect from the discussion of translation is due to the view of the traditional approach in linguistics, which draws a sharp dividing line between language and extralinguistic reality, whereas the contemporary approach, according to her, sees language as an integral part of culture, and the intrinsic relationship between language and culture has led to the treatment of translation as a primarily cultural act. According to Newmark, translating the source language into a suitable form of target language is part of the translator's role in cultural communication. When translating, it is very important to consider not only the lexical impact on target language audience, but also the manner in which cultural aspects may be perceived, and therefore make the translation decisions accordingly. The importance of translators. The service that translators render to enhance cultures and promote cultural contacts has been significant throughout history. It is thanks to translators that we know about other people, their culture, heritage, and behavior. A good translator should be familiar with the culture, the norms, and the social settings of the source language and target language. This sociocultural awareness can only improve the quality of the translation to a great extent and avoid cross-cultural misunderstanding. To sum up, the process of translation naturally involves the transferring of languages and their associated culture. That is to say, there is no translation out of context. It is a transfer of a text from source language to target language at three levels: syntactic, semantic, and pragmatic. Thank you very much for watching this video.